guess what? I was saying earlier that, and we're going to go live on YouTube now. I was saying earlier that we were talking about our week and how it was, and I was just relaying the fact that I was making this post online, and while I was typing in Facebook, halfway through, the post just disappeared. I started typing again and it just disappeared again. So this time I did what we normally do. I went to Microsoft Word, typed out everything, copied it, and pasted it in Facebook. So, and now I'm going through it again, and I just saw my desktop. Zoom just disappeared. When I looked at my modem, the main modem was good online, but the one that the router was red. For whatever reason, it just went. So it was not an internet problem, it just went. So, well, you know what?
It's that adversary. We talking about his demise. That's what we talking about. We
Yes.
talking about. You don't want to hear that, even though he knows he don't want to hear that.
Yeah, on the third attempt on Facebook, you know what I did? I just stopped, prayed, and went and typed it in Microsoft Word and just copy and paste. And now we're here in the middle of it again, and it just cuts out. But guess what? We're not gonna stop.
All praise
to Yah. We're not gonna stop. So thanks, Stanley, for just holding that together for me, and thank you guys for just staying with us. Now, I was talking about the topic is, are you worshiping the beast? And it comes from the background of looking at the beast, looking at what worship means, and seeing how many people are worshiping the beast and not know. Because our mindset of worship is kumbaya, it's prayer, it's songs, it's hymns, it's rituals, not in a bad way. Rituals, no. Rituals is something you do at
the practices. Yes.
Right. We are looking for a system that is set up that says the devil is the head of the system, and you're going there to pray and bow down, and you're fasting, and that's not what the word worship
denotes. So it's not going to be, so pretty much it's not going to be as blatant as,
no,
here's the church of the devil and we're come to worship.
Right, that's a smoke screen. That's not what the Bible describes as worship. And as you just read in the situation of Revelation 13, we are not seeing any kumbaya, we are not seeing any hymns, we are not seeing anthems, we are not seeing anything like that we are used to looking at in terms of what we quote unquote call worship.
But we see violence.
We see violence.
And it's very interesting. The violence we see is what history shows us.
Right.
History shows that the way that false information spread was by violence. Whether you look at it from the Inquisition, when you look at from the Inquistadors, we look at the subjugation of many lands, nations across the globe. Everywhere that the cross went, violence went.
Right. And when you look at here, what we are seeing on one hand is that violence. On the other hand, what we are seeing is the word shahah, which is the word for worship, which simply means to bow down. Whether you bow down in reverence, whether you bow down in fear, whether you bow down for greeting, because when Abraham greeted his stepfather, that would be stepfather, or father-in-law. Father-in-law.
Yeah, father-in-law.
The word there was actually worship. Shahah. So it simply means to bow down, and as students of Hebrew, we know that the word takes on the context. It's a concrete word, and it's going to take the context. So the word itself is not a religious word.
Correct. And it also shows that it will be by choice. It will not be made where you're forced to do it.
Right.
Regardless of whatever reason you use,
yeah,
it's going to be your will doing it.
And what happened here in this situation, yes, there will be force, but what will remove the excuse is your choice.
Your choice.
As to the side you're going to take, because what is going to be explicit, and what is explicit in Revelation, is that persons were being killed. So those who align with this power, aligns with this power with the full knowledge that they are aligning with a system that kills innocent people, which means that they are saying, we support your killing of innocent people. That removes, and that is why I wrote that it far surpasses the nuances of different religious beliefs. It's not whether you believe the Sabbath or not. It's not whether you believe in sprinkling or immersion. It's not whether you believe in tongues or it's none of that. It comes down to the very sanctity of life, which is exactly what Yahuwah speaks about, because my next post is gonna be about the fundamental characteristics of the satanic power. And I use the word satanic because we're going to go into satanic, the adversarial, and what it is adverse to. And then we're going to have to look at what Yahuwah's position is, which is the sanctity of life and the love for all human and the reverence of Yah. And seeing and showing how then that this power is adverse to this position, the sanctity of life and the worship of Yah. And then you're going to see now the characteristic of the beast, and you realize that any power that now calls you to disregard life for whatever reason, innocent life that is, then that power is adversarial to Yahuwah. And that's what we're seeing here. The persons who align themselves to this power in Revelation 13 aligns themselves to this power on the basis that it is able to make war and subjugate anything that opposes its positions.
So does this echo? So in essence, this echoes Daniel. This is why Revelation and Daniel go hand in hand, when you read in Daniel chapter 1, where we see the four total, the Daniel and the three Hebrew boys, where you see Mishael, Azariah, and Mishael, where they were pretty much giving the choice to either bow or die. And they said, whether the Most High delivers us or not, I'm not going to deny my Father. And they made a choice. So it seems like it echoes that very sentiment.
The principle, yeah, exactly. The principle of whether or not you obey Yahuwah to the death or not, because it's going to come to that.
Right, because Nebuchadnezzar, it opens up. Daniel chapter 1 opens up that Nebuchadnezzar had subjugated people, and he had brought back the articles and storehouses of the Most High and put it in his storehouse. So it's echoing the exact same thing, where we see that this power that was established by the beast is doing exactly what Nebuchadnezzar did.
And some more, because Nebuchadnezzar repented.
It repented, exactly.
This power is not going to repent.
Right. That's the difference. Nebuchadnezzar actually eventually repented.
And the principle of that is this now. The three Hebrew boys, they revered or loved Yah so much that they would rather die than to give up.
Disrespect.
What's the exponential effect now in Revelation? In Revelation, these people saw this beast killing innocent people and chose to side with that. No, there's no excuse for that. Whether you are religious or not, you're going to know that these are innocent people.
Absolutely.
And when you make that decision to side with a power that persecutes innocent people, that kills innocent people, then that becomes the issue that Revelation 19 speaks and it says, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire. Notice what's happening here. You are deceived, but that's not an excuse for what you did, because no amount of deception can allow you or can cause you to see children being killed and agree with it. You understand what I'm saying? To agree with infants being killed.
Power of choice.
That must be your choice, because something must be inside of you that said, this is not right.
Whether it's fear or not. Fear is
fear or not, because all of us are gonna feel that fear.
Mm-hmm.
But it's whether you have to make that decision. And the thing about it is this: when you make a decision in your fear, that's when Yahweh acts.
Exactly.
You are fearful. You know that you want to run to the side of those who seem to be safe. But in spite of that, you know what Yahweh says. And he says, yeah, I'm going to stand up for you. I'm afraid to die, but I'm going to stand up for you. Guess what he does? He now equips you. But you have to make the decision that gives him the right to actually stand in your place, because he cannot do it without your permission. So here, pulling that out, and I see this is going, okay, way more than just an introduction to what we are talking about. So here we are seeing in Revelation where this beast power is persecuting people, and you have these people who say, you know what? Everyone who stands against him lose. So here's what, I'm gonna stand with him. Irrespective of those who have died already and are dying. No, I'm gonna stand with this power. So the word worship here is not what we're thinking, because nowhere in this text are we seeing prayers, supplication. We're not seeing anything like that. We're seeing making war. We're seeing conflicts. We're seeing subjugation. We're seeing alignment, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him. Therefore, we're aligning with him because he seemed to be the winning team. Irrespective of what he's doing, realize that that is not seen. What is being contemplated here is that he won. Let me see if I can pull that out for you. Someone says, I'm standing for good. Someone says, I'm standing for bad. They both went into a conflict. The person who is standing for good lost the battle, which is explained in Revelation also, that Yahuwah's two witnesses will witness, but they will be overcome.
Mm-hmm.
So he told it that clearly. His witness will testify, but they will be overcome and they'll be killed. So it doesn't mean that because you're standing for right, you will live like the Hebrew boys. Sometimes you pay the ultimate price. So the person standing for right dies. The bystander sees and understands that the person standing for right was right. But because he dies, the bystander says, you know what? I'm going to align with the winning team.
Because I don't want to die.
Irrespective of what happened before and what my thought process was before, I'm going to align with the winning team. So everything that happens before that is null and void. You are the winning team. I was talking to someone about a conflict. And I said, have you read the history on that? The person said, I don't need to see that. I need to see only need to know what's happening now. So I said, if two persons are fighting, don't you want to know the history why they're fighting before you make a decision on who is right and wrong? But that person was adamant. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what's happening now. So, and this was this week. So it's like the persons in Revelation. We're just looking at the winning team. It doesn't matter. The preambles or whatever led up to this point. We're looking at the winning team. So in Revelation, these people are looking at the winning team. Who is able to make war with him? And because one of the deadly wounds was healed, he was injured in the fight. But because he made a comeback, then it rallies. It's like a boxer in a movie, like an underdog. And the fight is going on, and in the 11th round, He's knocked down. He's the underdog. He has been holding his position. And suddenly in round 12, he just regains strength. All of a sudden, because of this regaining of strength, it swings the entire narrative of those looking. And all of a sudden, even those who are on the opponent's side is on his side. Because of this storyline, and we see it in Hollywood movies every single time. The last point in the game that is a deciding factor. It is the same scenario playing out here. This beast was wounded, and because it came back from this wound and to win, what it does, it garners the support of those looking on, because now they're deciding out of emotions and not knowledge. And what we see is that they're saying in Revelation 3:13, 3 and 4, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him. So it's not a religious setting as we understand religion. This setting is actually a political setting. And we often interpret worship here as
church.
As church, right, as we understand church. And we didn't stop to analyze Revelation to understand that worship here is not just about church, falling down and praying and singing hymns and anthems and stuff like that. Worship here simply means to bow down. When you bow down to something, you I don't want to use allegiance, but you give preference to, or you turn over your decisions or your position in deference of the posited stance of whatever it is that you're. For instance, you're in a meeting and you have a position and someone else has another position, and then you give up your position in deference to them to allow them to go through, or to allow that to be the standard. No. So
even if you in your heart believe that what they're saying may not, whether it makes sense or not, you're giving up your position to agree with them.
In deference to them, right, to allow their position now to reign dominant. This is what was happening here in Revelation. These people gave up their position because of the ability of this beast power to make war.
And look to win them. And to win them.
And to win them. So this is the situation. So 3 times now tonight, maybe the 3rd time for this week, I'm trying to put this message across. And I didn't come here intending. I was praying as to what to talk, what to say. I was in prayer this evening. And as I said earlier, I've been going over end time stuff, and I've been going through. And 2 times on Facebook this week, I tried to make this post and it just disappeared. And in the middle of this presentation tonight, the Zoom call meeting just disappeared. But so it looks like, okay. So to read on, this power is deception. This situation far surpasses the subtle nuances of different religious beliefs. It speaks to an opposing power of the core of Torah, which is the preservation of life and the love of Yah. This power is strong on deception, especially to garner support for the shedding of innocent blood. Media tend to give you reasons to say, yeah, they should have died long ago or kill them because. Welcome, Shevan, Chris. Welcome, Ina. Welcome, Nathan. So media tend to give you reasons to agree with the shedding of innocent blood. So this power
is pretty much like how with somebody who's innocently been hurt, they start going into the past and they'll start pulling up all sorts of dirt. At 5, he stole some bubble gum from the grocery store, or he got F's on his report card, or You know, he once cursed at his sister. They try to vilify whoever
Right.
that person is to look a certain way.
And immediately your mind, because this is what media does. It's
programming.
human
It's
sociology.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we respond to stuff. So when something is repeated enough, we're going to respond in that way if we are not deliberate about what our position is. So we any one of us can be drawn into that if we are not anchored in where we are. So what is happening here is that there's a marketing of this position. So this power is good at deceiving people to support what it is doing. So it gives you reason and pulls on your heartstring, and you say, yes, 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 kill them.
Even by using certain language, like you hear it now, whether especially in political spaces, you hear a lot of terms being used, like we're going to fight for this, we're going to fight for this, we're going to go to war for this. They use those militaristic terms that garner anger and aggression, and we wonder how a couple years ago we had this upheaval at the Capitol. Well, the terms used galvanize that type of action because you're using words like take over, they're trying to destroy. They use those terms, and it like you said, if you're not rooted, you'll now be caught up in that progression as well. That can be very, very dangerous.
This power is strong on deception, especially to garner support for the shedding of innocent blood. This is the part that removes all, and in capital no, all excuses, because it tramples on the very basic principles of Torah, love for each other. Anything that calls you to separate from another person outside of outright immorality, in terms of, if you're killing people, innocent people, I'm commanded to separate from you. Anything short of the endangerment of life, which is why they always tell you that, give you that idea that someone else is out to get you, so that you react in this way without even knowing that that person is not
trying
out
to take something from you.
Right. So note in the following verse, the deceived who receive the mark is also destroyed. So because you're deceived, it's not an excuse. Because you're deceived, it's not a pass.
Eve didn't get a pass.
It's not a free pass, right?
Sawa didn't get a pass. She didn't get a pass. Adam didn't get a pass. Adam didn't get a pass, even though he did out of love. He didn't get a pass. Neither one got a pass.
Right. So it's not a free pass. Deception is not an excuse. Because guess what? If deception is an excuse, it means that Yahuwah did not provide sufficient knowledge of what is true, or very clear instructions. If you are deceived, it's because you refuse knowledge. So deception, if you are deceived, it's because you make a decision on something that you did not research or properly understand.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember. I think we were talking like a few weeks ago, and we like had briefly discussed like the mark of the beast, and I thought that I can't remember. I think like we were saying that when it comes to the mark of the beast, like I think a big fear for like a lot of people is that like, what if they don't, like, we don't know what it is and this and that, and it could be this, like, is it the vaccine?
There's a lot of wind in the background, Chef.
Oh, sorry, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and we were talking about it, and you know, it's like, because we were talking about the importance of the seal, right, and how like it's so hard to pinpoint like what the beast mark is and this and that. And a point that was brought up that had really resonated with me was that like to choose, it's like I thought we were saying that you can't be deceived into choosing the mark of the beast because like you would have had to consciously know exactly what it was and chosen it. Otherwise, Yah couldn't penalize you for it. You'd have had to know and then made the choice in order for Yah to say, you had the choice, you knew what the options were, and you chose this.
Right.
I'm wondering how that connects now, just to clarify, because I think the impression that I'm
You mean
getting
in terms of the deceived?
Yeah.
Okay, all have been deceived. All of us. The Bible actually says that if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. The difference is this: when you follow that power that deceives you to the shedding of innocent blood, there's no excuse. That is why I said at this point, all excuses are removed. Because every one of us, even without knowing it mentally, when innocent blood is shed for us, it causes us to react a particular way. It pulls on our heart. So it's not the deception. For instance, you're deceived to follow a political party. At one point, it's just politics. It's just choosing between two prime ministers or two candidates for the prime minister or presidential seat. But then that power, whoever comes in, starts to kill innocent people. Sometimes it's not as clear-cut as two presidents, because sometimes it spans, as a matter of fact, in the context of the Bible, it spans political parties and presidencies. So it's not limited to any party or any presidency. As a matter of fact, Daniel shows you, which Stanley brought up Daniel, that this power would have reigned over many different geography, many different political organizations, many different everything. So it cannot be tied to that. However, when it gets to the point of killing people that Revelation mentioned, that it is killing people, and that these people are saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? This is a definitive statement. No, the deceived have taken the step to stand with the deceiver, even in shedding innocent blood. And at this point, all excuses are off the table.
So pretty much then completely saddened. So pretty much all morals went out the window.
All morals went out the window.
Right. So it sounds in like these people aren't so much, they're called the deceived. I guess speaking from Yah's perspective, they're the people who have been deceived. But in their minds, it's not so much that they're like deceived, like, oh, I didn't know. It's like, no, they're consciously.
No, they were deceived at first. And that is why I use a political thing. They were deceived at first. And at first, they were following this system for simple things like just choosing who is president or prime minister. And by the way, it would be the same system on both sides. In this case, where it relates to spirituality. However, at the point where the beast decides to kill innocent people, they were deceived to the, it's like you backing a particular side. And I said it before, we tend to justify the wrongs that the side does. Even in our hearts, when we know it is wrong, because of ego, we go along with it. We are deceived, yes, we are. However, on this particular decision, when the Ruach says that's wrong, and we know, but because of ego, because we are defending this side, guess what we do? We go along with the wrong.
And that's what Shev is saying. Is like it's no longer deception in that case.
Yeah,
it's no longer, it's willing participation at that point.
Exactly. So it's not a clear cut that you were never deceived. Yes, you were deceived at one point, but in this case, where it relates to innocent blood and the sanctity of life, it's clear cut.
Yep, will for participation. So it's like that statement they used to say in cartoons. I remember in the old Bugs Bunny cartoons to say, if you can't beat them, join them. And at that point, once you have that mentality, you're saying, I am a willing participant. I'm no longer deceived. I'm a willing participant.
Right. You know, the funny thing, we've been cultured with that you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
I don't know any
cartoon,
any culture, and no, that doesn't have that state sentiment in some way or form.
Yep. If you can't beat them, join them.
So
it was in cartoons heavy. I remember watching Bugs. You say it all the time. If you can't beat them, join them.
That's exactly what's happening here in Revelation 13.
Yep. If you can't beat them, join them.
The persons worshiping the beast are bowing down in deference to the beast. He's saying, you can't beat them, join them. And that is why Revelation 19:20 could say that those who are deceived, and the mark of the beast is the mark of the authority of the beast. And so you tell whose authority you're under based on your actions and the camp you're supporting. Yahuwah's ultimate thing is don't shed innocent blood. When you see a power, as Revelation clearly states, killing those who will not bow down, that's innocent blood. Those who will not bow down to you, innocent blood in the Bible is killing someone not in self-defense. If someone attacks you and you kill that person, that's not shedding innocent blood. But in Revelation, we see that these people weren't attacking. They were just simply not bowing.
And so it seems like a two-part, it's almost a two-part, because one part is the people in what we see in Revelation 13, they're saying, before you even get to 4, you realize that these people are saying now, define God. So it goes back to, how to love God and how to love your fellow man. That's the instructions. So the first part is defying the Most High. And then after you defy the Most High, the next part is defying or shedding innocent blood, which is defiling humankind. So it's at that point you've literally shut out full Torah, because you've now said, Father, I don't want you. You're nobody to me. And fellow man, you're nobody to me. So there's really nothing else. There's no Tanakh. It's all right. You've removed all the instruction from your heart.
Right. And when you read Daniel and the other prophecies, you'll realize it's not just anybody he's targeting. Because the Bible says that those who will stand are those who know Yahuwah.
Right.
So he's attacking persons who are standing for the love of humanity and the reverence of Yah.
Which is the instructions, which is
right. Right. So those who actually, it says, and he will make war with those who keep the commandments of Yah. Here are the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the testimony of Hamashiach. Now, it's clear who is attacking. Now, if you understand the essence of Torah being love for one another and worship and reverence for Yah, then you understand that what this power is actually attacking is those who love Yah, those who want to preserve life. So on the opposite end, you find the power from that perspective persecuting people. But when you look closely at the people he's persecuting, you realize that it is the people who are standing up in defense of life. And the beast now tries to persecute them because they are standing in defense of life. And that comes out in 3 and before, that he's persecuting all those who will not bow down to him. Because the essence and character of this power is to shed innocent blood, is to take life. The essence of Yahuwah is to preserve life. As in, that is where the word grace comes from. At noon, it's a continuation of life. So we see the very core of these two camps. So the persons who are saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him, is saying he fought and won against those who want to preserve life. So guess what? I'm going to stand on his side because that's a winning team. And guess what? In doing so, what we've basically done is stand on the side of the destruction of life. And that is why there would be no excuse. Because your life is in danger when you start to destroy lives. It doesn't matter what excuse you get, what reason or what premise. when you start to destroy life, you have to realize that you have a life, because Yahuwah says, don't oppress people, because remember that you were once slaves also. So remember what you went through. Think of your life when you stand to oppress other lives. And then if you do that, you realize that removes all excuse. So at this point, it's not a deception. You have been deceived all of this time. Granted. And all of this time, the right was there and the wrong was there. You've been deceived. It may not have been clear. That is why I said this far surpasses the nuances of different religious beliefs, whether you sprinkle or you immerse, whether you're speaking tongues or not, whether you keep the Sabbath or not. None of that matters in the face of shedding of innocent blood. In fact, we studied that with Micah 6, I think it was 2 weeks ago, when Micah went before Yah and says, how shall I come before you? And Yahuwah said, I've shown thee, human, what is good and accepted. You love mercy and walk what? Humbly before Yah. You love people and you reverence Yah. It is that simple. So when you come back to Revelation now, those who are under the authority of the beast, the mark is that they will stand beside the beast in killing innocent people. And those who are under the authority or the mark or the seal of Yah, because a seal is a mark. They use two different verbiage, but a seal is a mark, just the same. So if you're under the seal of Yah, you will stand for life and die to preserve life. But if you're under the mark of the authority of the beast, or if if you have the mark of the authority of the beast is the willingness to shed innocent blood, which goes against the core of Torah. So it's not any one mark. We're not discussing the mark, right? But just to give you an idea, it's not any one thing. It is that willingness to shed innocent blood, which goes against Torah. Because you remember that when blood is in the streets of Israel, Yahuwah says that your prayers are an abomination to me. I don't even want to hear your song. I don't even want to smell your sacrifice, because you're shedding innocent blood. It goes to the core of Yahuwah, of what Yahuwah hates. So when you're under the mark of the authority of the beast, you have no problem shedding innocent blood. When you're in the camp of Yah,
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when the Bible talks about receiving the mark in your forehead, based on what you're saying, I'm thinking that it's not a literal passing something to you, but more so that your frame of mind, the way you think,
right.
something like that. Is that what I'm supposed to understand?
Right.
Yeah. It's
Right.
a concrete statement. People think it's going to, like it's not a brand that somebody's going to take a brand and stick the scarlet letter on your forehead. No, it says
Right.
the mark in your forehead is your brain. What you accept, what you put in your brain and accept as where your thoughts lay. So yeah, it's in your mind.
Right. Okay.
In addition to that, then what I guess I would ask, why does it also specify like your arm? You know,
your hand. So think about when you're in the classroom, right? When they say, when you raise your hand, you accept something.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put your hand up, like, have you ever gone to a concert and they always say, put your hands in the air?
Mm-hmm.
That's accepting. You're drawing onto a power. You're pulling from a power.
Mm-hmm.
So your palm is the acceptance or the line of receiving or giving off power. That's why even in church, you put your hands up. So by saying the mark on your forehead and mark in your hand is literally saying in your mind and what you accept.
Thank you, Stanley. Your head.
Whatever you surrender
Then
to.
you see
Your head. Yep.
Denithia asks, how do you distinguish what is symbolic from what is literal?
Okay. Let me answer that in two parts. Put a pin in that. Let me answer the first part, then second part. The mark in your hand, you notice that there were some people already on the side of the beast who've made up their minds that they're going to kill innocent people, right? Because the beast is a power. It's not just one person. It's a power. It's an organization. It's a political body. It's a system. And by the way, it's not a one political party in any country, because many countries are under the umbrella of this beast system. However, notice the people who join the beast, who joined with him at the last hour when he was conquering, did so because of they saw that he was winning. Their minds might not have been made up to do it, but they join hands with the beast. That's a mark in your hand, literally. You put your hand to the plow because you see that this is a winning team. You may have been on the other side before, because those who were doing it before this was fully in mentally. But those who join at this point is joining because of what? The conquest of war and the perceived victory. So they do what? Join with this system. That's a physical join, even if their minds is not there.
Like your hands grasping.
Yeah,
so
they join hands with this beast.
You're doing this.
So we're seeing that duality happening here. Some who is just doing it out of fear. Again, the Bible says the cowardly will not enter. Not because Yahweh is blocking them, but because they will not stand for what is right. So how do you know what is symbolic and what is not? Every symbolism in the Bible has to be explained in the Bible as symbolism. I know that in modern religious circles, people tend to, everything is a symbol. Everything is spiritual, nothing is ever literal.
Nothing is ever literal, especially the New Testament.
Right. So, and Hebrew is concrete.
Yep.
So while Yahweh will use, for instance, I was going through Ezekiel today and he says, look, I will give you a day for a year, and hear how that came about. Israel was supposed to be subdued for 40 years. But Yahuwah says, Ezekiel, you're going to lie on your side for 40 days instead of 40 years, because obviously you won't be able to lie on one side for 40 years. In fact, a lot of the people who were supposed to get the message would have died long before that. So he said, I'm giving you a day for a year. In another instance, he says that, look, use dung to cook the food to show that Israel would be eating defiled bread in a land that is not ours. Ezekiel said, but I've not defiled myself by eating anything unclean or that which died of itself or that which was torn. And Yahuwah says, okay, I'm going to give you cow's dung in the place of human dung. So we see the purpose of the symbolism there. I hope I'm answering the question, Denisa. So in terms of revelation now, we are seeing here a beast, and Revelation tell you that a beast is a power. Daniel tells you that the first beast was what? Babylon. The second beast was what? Medo-Persia. The third was what? Greece. The fourth was Rome. And this fourth beast was in this script, and it would last until the end of time. So the Bible explains all of this. So when we look at the beast here in Revelation, we already knew from Daniel that the beast, that when the angel said to Daniel, and these beasts are kingdoms. So it actually explains it, not like in modern religion where people just say, this is symbolic just because they want to swing you wide or reinterpret what it is. If it is symbolic, believe me, the scripture is going to explain it. And if we don't yet know, because trust me, some of the symbols I don't yet understand. I don't. And I'm praying.
And Sabrina found a great, I was looking for this, and I'm so thankful she found it. Sabrina put Deuteronomy chapter 6, 4-9, and it actually describes the.
You want to read it? You want to read it?
And I'll
read chapter 6?
Yes, I'll go ahead and read let's see how long it is. I'll go 6-9. I'll start with 4-9. And this is Deuteronomy 6, verse 4-9. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the God is one. And I'm intentionally reading from the NIV because
Mhm.
Using a CJB is Hebrew, and New Testament is more Greek. So just trying to keep the translation similar.
Mhm.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on the gates. So we see that the connection of binding something on your hand and something being connected to your forehead. And it goes back to the Hebrew letters where you say the hand, and then your mind. So it connects. Like I said, it causes confusion, especially when you see this in the Old Testament. And then you go to the New Testament, they kind of use slightly different language, but that's how it connects. You see the binding of the hand and the connection on the forehead.
Who posted it?
That was Sabrina. That was perfect.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. And Sabrina and Rachel, I'm sorry. We did say we're gonna look at Passover, right? Next
Nah,
week.
it's all good. I feel like this, however it was meant to happen, it's a good discussion though. So it's all good.
All right, because we did say that, but when I realized how Hasatan was fighting this message, I decided that if you're fighting, then I'm going.
Right. He's fighting for a reason.
Yeah, if I'm going west and you're fighting me, then I'm going west. I'm sure now I need to go west.
Mhm.
So,
but yeah, that was that brings it home. That's perfect, Sabrina. And thank
perfect.
you again. That was perfect. That we see that again, just like you explained, that we understand when things are most of the time things are literal. And even when we look at the New Testament, when the Messiah is talking, he said, this is a parable. He says, this is a parable. He's not presenting it as concrete. He's saying, I'm telling you a story to relate the message.
Mhm.
And so in most cases, it's opposite how we're taught. It's actually mostly literal instead of, symbolism and everything. So, but in this case, we just have to understand what paradigm, not somebody sticking you in your forehead and branding you in your forehead. So that would be too blatant, right? That would be too easy to discern. Oh, these must be the people marking the people with the beast because they put the letter B on their forehead. You know what I mean? Like, and they stamping 666 on the hand. That's too overt, and the adversary doesn't move like that, right? We see that the cunning of the adversary is unique, if you will. So it's not going to be that blatant. So it's like, okay, what he's going to put in your head and what you agree to.
Right.
As we see in Deuteronomy chapter 4.
Read it again, read it again.
Okay.
Because it tells you what the seal of Yah is. Clear, as day.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Matter of fact, let me start with one. Chapter 6, these are the commands, decrees, and laws God directed me to teach you to observe in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. Verse 2, so that you, your children, and their children after them may fear God, as long as you live by keeping all his decrees and commands that I give you, and so that you may enjoy long life. Verse 3, hear, Israel, and be careful to obey, so that it may go well with you, and that you may increase greatly in a land flowing with milk and honey, just as the God of your ancestors promised you. Verse 4, hear, O Israel, God, the Lord, or God is one. Love God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your strength. These commandments, verse 6, that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Verse 7, impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Verse 8, tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Verse 9, write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. Verse 10, when God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you, a land with large flourishing cities you did not build. Verse 11, houses filled with all kinds of good things you did not provide, wells you did not dig, and vineyards and olive groves you did not plant. Then when you eat and are satisfied, verse 12, be careful that you do not forget God who brought you out of Egypt and out of the land of slavery.
Amen.
No, thank you very much.
Do you
Go
mind
ahead.
also like reading Ezekiel chapter 9 real quick? Because
You know what? I'm on it. Okay, I can read it,
Yeah.
Stanley. When you see me looking aside, I was actually
He was already
reading that, the mark, the man with the inkhorn. He said, then he cried loudly in my ears, summon the commanders of the city, each holding his weapon of destruction. At once, 6 men appeared on the path from the upper gate to the north, each man holding his weapon of destruction. Among them was a man clothed in linen. Now, the significance of linen here, in Revelation, it tells you that the linen that they were wearing was their righteousness. So this man with the inkhorn represents a righteous man. Clothed in linen, and with a scribe's writing equipment at his waist. In some places it says, in KJV it says, this is CJV. In KJV it says inkhorn.
I'll say, yeah, this one has writing kit. I'm looking at the NIV, it has writing kit.
Right. They entered and stood by the bronze altar. Then the glory of Yahweh of Israel was made to go up from over the cherub where it had been to the threshold of the house. He called to the man clothed in linen, who had the scribe's writing equipment at his waist. Adonai said to him, go through the city, through all Jerusalem, and put a mark on the foreheads of the men who are sighing and crying over all the disgusting practices that are being committed in it. To the others, I heard him say, go through the city after him and strike. Don't let your eyes spare, have no pity. Kill old men, young men, girls, little children, women, slaughter them all. This is judgment now, you know. Understand, if you go to Revelation, you're going to see the winds of strife. And a point here, you will notice that both John and Ezekiel got a scroll to eat that would be sweet in the mouth and bitter in the belly. Okay. We're saying to the other, yeah. But don't go near anyone with the mark. You notice that the seal is being used as a mark here now. Begin at my sanctuary. If you look in Revelation, you're going to realize that some of the judgment that we're talking about is falling on Israelites.
A lot of it.
A lot of it because of transgression. I'm terrible at finding back place when I read them.
You are for 5.
5, I did pass 5. Began at sanctuary. Okay.
Oh, you did. You're right.
I am at 6 now, a half of 6. They began with the leaders in the front of the house. Then he said to them, defile the house, fill the courtyard with corpses. You know that you weren't supposed to kill anyone in the temple.
In the temple.
Or in the courtyard. Get going. So they went out, spreading death in the city. While the killing was going on, I was left alone. I fell on my face, cried and said, O Adonai Elohim, in pouring out of your fury on Jerusalem, are you going to destroy everyone left in Israel? Then he said to me, the wickedness of the house of Israel and Yehuda is enormous. The land is full of blood. You hear the judgment coming again? What did we talk about? The worst
Innocent
thing you
blood.
can do is shed innocent blood.
Innocent blood. So that's what he's referring to, not the blood that was just being revenged on.
Right.
It was the blood already killed.
Shed, exactly.
Shed innocent people.
and the city is full of justice denied.
Right.
So it's oppression of people. Same thing we're talking about in Revelation. Thank you very much, Sabrina, again. Because they say Adonai has left the land. So guess what? They start to treat the people badly because they say Adonai is not here or Adonai does not see. But as far as I am concerned, my eye will not spare and I will have no pity, but I will bring the consequences of their ways on their own heads. At this point, the man clothed in linen with the writing equipment at his waist returned and reported, I have done everything you ordered me to do.
So this is the Messiah. It seems like the name, the writing equipment, the names being written in the book of life. He has the writing equipment.
And note,
wow.
Look, if you realize here what was happening, if you go elsewhere in Ezekiel, I think 36, when he says he was going to give us a new heart. If you juxtapose that to Psalm, when he says that the teachings or the flowings that we call law of Yahuwah is perfect, converting the soul. Therefore, that which is put inside you because you were sighing and crying, because you made a decision in spite of, the background is this. Yahuwah took him to the temple and said, look at these men, they're standing in the temple and their faces are turned to the east, worshiping the sun. They're in my house. They're not outside, they're in my house.
In my house. Disrespecting, put some respect to my name.
Yeah, and they're worshiping the sun. So Yahuwah says, have you seen these, son of man? Are you seeing what they're doing? And the women are there weeping for Tammuz. All this was happening. And there were those, in spite of the winning team, because these were the men in control of the temple. So obviously it was the modus operandi. This was the norm. This was happening. And the normal people who was in derision, who was in the minority as far as authority is concerned, sighed and cried, but they could not do anything. But guess what? They did not do. They did not consent to the shedding of innocent blood. They did not consent to the worship of Baal. They didn't consent. And because they were doing that, Yahuwah could have given them that new heart so that when the incarnate man is coming through, when the death-dealing angels are coming through, they would have a mark or a seal on their forehead because Torah would have been in them now.
And it just
I wonder if you're seeing.
He said he can't go to the city and put a mark, and so he's pretty much recognizing their character. And they would
exactly. And the writing instrument here, it's the same thing that
book of life.
That Cain got a mark. And by the way, the sign or the mark is the word tav, which means covenant. The word tav or the letter tav is a covenant.
Looks like a.
So this mark or this sign. So basically, a new covenant will I make with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. So this covenant was ratified by this man with the inkhorn, so that when the death-dealing men are passing through, they would be spared. Same thing in Revelation. Thank you very much, Sabrina, because I was actually looking at it when you mentioned it. So in Revelation, when you see this thing happening, what you're seeing is some people who say, I'm going to join this power because it's a winning team. But we all know what the winning team is. Because we'll be in the minority. I can tell you that. Just as in Ezekiel. But if you sigh and cry for righteousness, if you decide to stand on the side of right, to preserve innocent life, to not give your worship to anyone but Yah, then that seal, a new heart will be given to you. that seal in your forehead, that Deuteronomy 6 speak about.
Well,
That
she said
no,
it to,
the
he said it straight
instructions
to
will
the,
be frontlets.
he said it straight to the people. Talk about it, put it on your doors,
Yes.
put it everywhere, put it in your mind, put it in your being.
Because that's the only thing, once you understand the principle of that, when the wave comes to sweep your way, to agree to destroy innocent people, the only thing that you will know, because it will look dark as if Yahuwah is not there, just like those in the temple who says Yahuwah is not here and he's not seeing, because the situation may have become so grim that they say Yahuwah is not seeing, let us do what we want to do. It will become dark in days to come. And it will seem that Yahuwah is not there. But because we would have been laying this upon us when we walk in the streets, when we lay down, when we rise up, whenever we keep laying the teachings upon our heart, when the time comes and you think Yahuwah is not there, you still do know the teachings and the instructions. So guess what? You're going to do because you have the instructions in you. And because you're doing it, it didn't make you holy. But guess what? Here comes a man with the inkhorn.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to write a new thing in you. He's going to give us a new heart. So that when Yahuwah is going to just do his thing, we'll be counted worthy.
In the book of life, written.
Yep.
And he said in verse 10, but as far as I'm concerned, my eye will not spare, and I will have no pity, but I will bring the consequences of their ways on their own heads.
Consequences, that's the operative word.
Mm-hmm.
It means that you would have done something before that caused this to happen. So when you hear, immediately when you hear, spare not women or children, you're saying, whoa.
Everybody would have done something. Mm-hmm.
In slavery, children used to watch.
Yep.
While we're being lynched.
Yep. Applauding.
Those children grew up
doing
and
the same
did the same thing.
Yep. Yep.
Just imagine how many generations would have expired over, say, the 200-year period. Just imagine how many generations would have had to keep carrying this on and on and on and on. Yeah. Now you get the gravity of the evil that exists and is entrenched.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's what I used to, when I was younger, I was like, man, why is the Most High punishing children? But in that very same concept, you see, like, these children are exposed to such evil that they now accept and view that this is the way to operate. This is the way that I'm behaving, like I said, because children watched this, were told it was okay, and so they grew up thinking it was okay.
And they came and did the very same thing.
Did the very same thing. So that's where you understand, like, oh, this was not an innocent situation.
Right.
This was a learned, like I said, opus morotus. This was a learned, groomed behavior that was accepted and learned. So the whole system had to go.
Have to overhaul. So when we look at Revelation 13, we are tempted to see it as a church service. But when you look a little closer, you realize that this has nothing to do with singing hymns and anthems and kumbaya and all these things. This has everything to do with bowing down in deference to a system that is clearly killing people.
Yep, system, socioeconomic system.
Simply because this system seemed to be the winning team. The fact that you may not know that he's lying is nobody's fault but yours. Because the fact that you take a decision without knowledge is not excuse. If you're going to take a decision, you need to know why you're deciding. Don't just take a decision because the crowd is going.
Because that's you making a decision at that
You're
point.
making a decision. Exactly. So do not take a decision. And by the way, there are no middle ground here. Either you're going to take a decision on right or wrong. So the fact that you will have to make a decision, then the onus is on you to be informed. Anything you are being asked to do, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's your political party or not. It does not matter. Elder Mackenzie and I had that discussion this week, and I said, I don't think I will ever vote. And I said, because what I'm seeing now is that morality is being determined by political affiliation. Mm. And I don't know if we realize the seriousness of that trend. So that when political affiliation determines your morality, if that party says killing innocent people, it's totally right and just to you. I don't know.
We just saw it. I mean, we literally just saw it. Everybody was able to see how that happened in real life. It happened. Like right. We saw treason live and direct because people aligned their belief system to a political party.
So we have to now start to look and say, you know what? I have to now be in a position where I'm training my mind to respond to Yah first. Because believe it or not, we might think we can ride the train and jump off before it reaches the station. That's not possible.
You're fooling yourself.
I can tell you, we are fooling ourselves. We might think we can follow a system to a point. Many people who are defending some positions now, and when I hear it and I said, do you realize what you're defending? It's justifying immoral actions just because. Just because it's my organization, just because it's my church, just because it's my school, just because it's my football team, just whatever it is, we have to get to the place where front and center, it has to be the teachings of Yah. And then everything is now judged on that principle, front and center. It means that even if it's my party, I'm going to call the wrong a wrong.
Or my denomination.
Or my denomination. And here's the problem why I decided I can't vote. I said something to someone this evening, and someone said, you sound like a Trump supporter. And I'm saying, because I'm telling you something moral. So imagine you being a messenger of Yah. Not, and I'm saying I'm a messenger of Yah. And you're affiliated to whether Democrats, Republican, or whatever party in the world, PNP, JLP, as in Jamaica's case, whatever. And the party that incidentally is opposite to the one that you support does something when you call it out. Guess what? Nobody listens. Because it's a political position in their mind. The messengers of Yah has to be clear to the world where you stand. It can't be a mixed feeling because guess what? That compromises the message of Yah. Seriously. And I'm saying this because we have to start to think where we are. Because believe it or not, it doesn't matter which side of political party. The Bible says the beast has two horns and both of them burning with him.
They're both in the same head.
Right, the two of them burning with him. So they give you the competition to keep you focusing on that, to run until you run right over the precipice. And if you keep focusing on the competition that they are running, guess what's going to happen? You run right over the pit. Like the Pied Piper.
Right.
Yeah. They're going to play. You're going to keep piping until guess what? You're paying attention to the music that they're giving you to dance to. And guess what? Before you know it, you're putting people on the altar to be slaughtered. And believe me, you don't have to be there doing it personally. Every single person who does not stand up in their circle, because this is what we don't understand about marketing. Marketing gets you to talk about it in your circle. So every person who talks about it in their sphere of influence makes a ripple effect just go. So if in your circle, you're not calling a spade, whether it's your party or not, and if the opposing party is right, if you can't say it's right, you're in a problem too, because your judgment is skewed. And that's just on that simple political level. Imagine on the more spiritual level. If you cannot differentiate right and wrong because of political expedience, we are in a big problem. Big problem. So we have to now start to separate politics from our belief system. We have to. If we're going to make it, don't fool yourselves. Trust me. Even if you support a party, it has to be a decided determination that this is separate and you are not going to follow this system to that point. And when it does the wrong thing, you need to call it out.
Calling the wrong thing. And that's why I think we said all the time that it's easier to focus on the seal of Yah than the mark of the beast.
Exactly. Easier, because once you're focusing on the teachings, and Deuteronomy says it clear. When you rise up, when you're walking in the way, when you're lying down. In other words, 24/7.
Focus on it.
Focus on the it didn't say when you come off the political campaign, just take some time to do this.
Focus on it.
It says when you wake, when you're moving about, when you're going to bed.
Teaching your children.
Teach your children. Focus on it. Know it.
It doesn't change.
Look, what I'm seeing happening in the world now, I mentioned something and I wouldn't bring it up, and I'm not going to go in details with it, to someone this week. They were talking about the conflict in Ukraine. I said, do you know how many persons died in Ukraine since 2014? I said 14,000. Do you know what led to this conflict? You know who killed them? I don't need to know. I just need to know what's happening now. I said, oh, see that? That's why I said, so those 14,000 lives doesn't matter. Because guess what? It's a media narrative. So 14,000 people dead, it doesn't matter. Because this is what the media is telling me to do now, and I'm responding as I should. And before you take a decision on that conflict, read. No life is more sacred than the other. Read, people, read. Because after this conflict, Russia is going to lose this. But what's going to come next, you may not be prepared for. You may not be prepared for. So, revelation has to happen. As Elder Mackenzie said, you know what? Some things we don't need to pray for because it's going to happen. We need to pray so that we can go through it. So the persecution is going to happen. So don't waste a prayer trying to ask God to stop the persecution. It's going to happen. All you need to be praying for is that you're among the number that the man with the inkhorn or the writing instrument will put a mark on. That should be our prayer. So it's going to happen and it's coming, but the point is we're going to get to that point and not realize that we're at the point, because guess what? We're thinking it's politics and not realizing it's actually spiritual. We're thinking this conflict is politics and we are not seeing that it's very spiritual. We're thinking that, okay, it's just about this and about that. No, this is spiritual. It's just militaries that is fighting. But believe me, in the background of all that, it's very much spiritual. It is very, very much spiritual. In fact, all the East-West war was always religious. It was always Muslims against Christians. It was always one religious to another, trust me. And when religious bodies start to fight, it's because it's a fight for supremacy and dominance. It means that the winner is going to exert its dominance on the world. And the whole world will wander after the beast. And the beast will cause as many that will not worship him to be what? Killed. It's a serious thing, friends. I feel for all the lives that has been lost, and there could have been an easy situation in all of this. But I also am very concerned about all the people who are going to be sucked into this. You realize that it has a media campaign of its own?
Yep.
It has a media campaign of its own. And if you understand anything about media, you take note. Take note. Media campaigns are strategically organized and fully financed to give a particular message. Anything you hear on any media program, whether it's secular, religious, what was designed for you to hear. You have to understand that. So, wow. We're going to look at the Passover next week, definitely. I mean, any comment, any concerns, any comment, any questions, anything?
I appreciated this meeting because I also was looking at the word worship in Hebrew, and it kind of confused me when Abraham, I think, was like worshiping his father, but the person, he was worshiping another person. So that was kind of confusing me. And then, Israel worshiping the golden calf and then, worship God. So it's just like, wait, what exactly is worship? But, now I kind of see it as, just like accepting authority, kind of. So in a way, like technically with the Hebrew word, I guess we like should worship our parents, like accept their authority.
Or it simply means to bow down. Simple. And remember, Hebrew, the word in and of itself is not spiritual, the actual word, except some word that gives you. Stanley, you're muted.
I say it's an action. It's just an action.
Right.
It's not spiritual in its connotation.
Right.
It's action. It's what you're doing. So
English language just transliterate everything as worship. I mean, it doesn't say worship. I think it said bow down in Moshe's case.
So yeah, in your context, Sabrina, when we obey our parents, you're in essence not using the word worship, but we're submitting ourselves to our parents.
Right.
Which the Most High said that's fine. However, that does not supersede him. At the end of the day, nothing supersedes his teachings. But respecting and not using the term worshiping our parents, because like I said, worship has a spiritual connotation instead of an action of just submission. It takes on a whole nother level of stacking languages and all the other stuff. But yes, the fifth commandment, honor the, is the fifth commandment there for a reason. And that's a part of it. Honoring, obeying your parents is a part of his teachings.
And what makes a difference when you bow is your intention. When you bow to Yah, it's a whole different thing while you're bowing. When Abraham did it, it's just a greeting.
It's a greeting. He recognized him as an authority. Yep, he simply said, I'm recognizing you as the authority of this land.
And sometimes you're showing respect.
Or respect, but you're not the authority of my spirit.
Right. In some countries, they simply just bow when they meet each other. So it's different. Sometimes you're forced to. So English tends to just lump all of that
into worship.
When you read the Hebrew word, you have to see the context, because strong is strong for the Hebrew. So Aleph Lamed El could be used to describe the oak, which is a strong tree.
A strong tree.
As well as it could be used to describe Yahuwah. You understand? or the deer.
Yeah, the context doesn't change what's strong. It's strong is strong.
Right. So, and that's a point. I'm glad you asked that question. That's a point I wanted to bring across. We see worship in Revelation, and we automatically sing songs and prayer and hymns and anthems and rituals and stuff. But the Bible says, if you read the context of Revelation, nothing there suggests any of that. It clearly tells you that this beast was warring with some people, and these people say, I'm going to serve you because no one can make war with you.
Well, I'm going to bow to you because
I'm going to bow to you in deference.
To replace Yah and everything else.
Anyone else? Any thought, any questions?
Well, I would like to say that this time talk tonight bring us to reality of what's going on. Because as they say, the beast is going to kill innocent blood. And the leaders of the innocent blood is calling out on the world power. They're calling out on NATO, they're calling out on America. And America is in fear. In fear of what? Third World War. But that is just a deception because they know they cannot prevent it. It's only a matter of time. Okay, because you're hearing now the president talking about if Putin use chemical warfare, they're going to act. So they just cannot stop the Third World War. And
Guess what? There's another component to that.
Exactly.
You know the Pope is involved now, right?
Right.
You know that I said it to someone about 2 weeks ago that if the Pope should get involved and stop this, you know what happened next? You realize what would just happen? The entire world would rally right around him and give him whatever he needs. Understand that if he stops World War III, I mean, the Bible tells us that this is not a world war that's going to destroy the earth. So we already know.
Right. It's not going to be grenades and bombs blowing up.
But then the devil will use his people to create the smoke screen. And I'm not saying it's going to happen now. I'm just saying that there's a possibility that if he brokers this peace, there'll be no leader on the face of this earth who don't have to bow to him. Not one.
Because he already thinks they
already do.
Yeah, they already recognize him as one that has even authority over the Most High. So
right. So the only thing now is for him to get catapulted into the political seat.
And actually,
and then you're gonna see what comes next.
I've seen pictures of someone like our so-called presidents and politicians. They actually have been around him for quite some time now. So
yeah, they have. I think it was Gore what's his name? Sanders who visited him also.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying
all of them do. Every world leader, all world leaders do.
And they were saying that they need a one world spiritual financial leader, and they all basically nominated him.
Mm-hmm.
So now this comes up, and then he was on the phone with Zelensky and all of that stuff. Look, I'm not saying that's the exact way it's gonna play, but understand that when these spiritualities, principalities, and powers are acting, everything here is just a pawn on the chessboard. But the ultimate is one thing: to give the power to the beast. Ultimate power. Thank you all. If there's no other comment, we're going to look at the Passover next week, or relook the Passover next week. I mean, April 15th is going to be Passover, start of Passover. We know that run for 8 days. When we started, we said we were going to do that, but this came up, and what catapulted this was the blackout that happened. And I said, okay, so if the devil is trying to stop this, then we're going forward.
Oh, there was a blackout? I'm absent on like
Oh,
news stuff. I don't watch news, so when people
no,
tell me
not
stuff
black.
going on,
No,
like,
not in terms of that. No. What we're studying tonight, I was posting on social media this week. And twice when I was typing it on Facebook, the screen just disappeared. My post just disappeared. Literally disappeared while I'm typing it. And I started typing again and disappeared. And the third time I prayed and typed it in Word and copied it and pasted it. Tonight, when I was going through the post, I pulled up the post and was reading it. Zoom just disappeared.
oh wow.
So that's how we came to be discussing the whole worshiping the beast and what it looks like as against what we're led to believe it looks like. So that's how we're here.
Gotcha.
So next week we'll actually look at the Passover, the significance of the Passover and stuff like that. We just go into it and do a recap. It's gonna be a full program, but what it means, what still obtains, what changed, and we should all go read it and study, because guess what? I'm no expert on it either.
Yeah, because I was asking a couple people in Discord, because I want to observe it, right? But like, of course, like many of us work, some of us have certain specific type amount of days for like PTO and stuff. So I was wondering, like, do you take off for it, or how that works? So
here where we are, we have to observe to the best of our ability. And I'm saying that as my opinion. We're not in our own land anymore. So not all of us are gonna get the time off to do that. And we have to understand that. We have to understand that some things change over time. In fact, through the many what would you call them now? Desolation, through the many desolations over the history of our people. Many times we've lost sight of the Passover totally. To the point, at one point, I think Nehemiah had to now reconsecrate some people because they've not done it from Joshua till that point. So, and Yahuwah did say that we would lose sight of the feast days because of our transgression. But he did also say in Ezekiel that from where we are scattered, we're going to call and he's going to answer. So that also gives us hope that even though we cannot do it just as they did it, the importance is this, and there are some markers. The Passover represents a deliverance from bondage, not just spiritual bondage, but physical bondage. It represents a token of a promise that one day Yah is going to come for us from our place of captivity. It represents a token in that Yahuwah says that tomorrow is going to be the first day of the first month of the first year for you. It's going to be a time reboot. It represents when we would have entered the New Jerusalem to live eternity, when time would be rebooted. The power of that concept of time being rebooted. Everything that happened yesterday, today, the new day, brand new year, brand new everything. That's what the Passover introduced to Israel, to say to them that just as Abraham looked for a city whose builder and maker is Yah, we, by the Passover, commemorate that look as we walk forward to that city. Those are the things that carries forward, that's essence of Passover. Of course, we're still in the night between the sacrifice of the lamb, because we know the Hamashiach was sacrificed. We're still in that night before the final call, where we would leave Babylon or Egypt. And that is why the Bible refers to us being in Babylon and Egypt. So as we read the Passover, as we look into it, try to look beyond what is written on the page and to understand the circumstances, the importance of why that was done. Not everything in it I know why it was done. I mean, I know hyssop is a purging and stuff like that, but I cannot tell you every single. Some of it the Bible doesn't say why Yahweh says do this, but we know for sure.
He says do it.
He says do it. We know for sure that the Bible actually called the New Jerusalem the heavenly Canaan. Remember when they left Egypt, they were supposed to be going to Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey. So in our journey, we should be doing what? Heading to the land, the New Jerusalem, the land flowing with milk and honey. And so the Passover also symbolizes all of this. And when we eat the unleavened bread, it represents us. It represents the suffering. It reminds us of where our foreparents would have walked in this or 400 years. And that is why I said earlier that this part, oh, you all weren't here. Sabrina was here and Rachel was here. Someone else was on. I don't remember who it was. That this Passover is especially important because of the pivotal moment in time that we find ourselves. In that we look back at the 400 years that our foreparents suffered and bled and died, and we are here at the end of the 400 years. This Passover represents that pivotal moment when we're actually pivoting the next turn, the next step. And a whole lot is happening. A whole lot is happening both politically, because there's a political angle which I don't fully understand, to the prophecies also, because when you read the prophecies, you realize that it speaks a lot of things happening here, like when it says that we would leave with great wealth. And then you start to dig that and you realize, whoa, something else is happening here. So there's going to be a leaving that is not necessarily the heavenly Canaan leaving yet. And we're seeing that migration happening. We're seeing stuff happening on a global level that is freeing up. And I'm just going to say this. The world is trading oil, because, you know, oil is like the biggest commodity with gold and diamond and stuff like that. The world is changing how it trades oil. It may just seem political on the face, but the fact is that Africa, who has the most oil, Saudi Arabia is Africa, Middle East is Africa, could not trade oil in its own currency, thereby was always poor. No, that's changing because of this conflict. That's changing. It means that Africa may be able to realize the benefits of its own resource right at the end of the 400 years. I keep saying it. Things are changing. We don't even realize the extent to which this is happening. And so,
I was saying, actually had someone, I think he was either killed or died. I think his name was Gaddafi. He was actually in the process, from what I heard, it was in the process of actually giving Africa either their own currency or something regarding back in the gold that's in Africa. Like
many leaders tried.
Yeah. And then
many leaders tried it, and guess what? Because Europe is fighting Europe, that is changing. But Yahweh did say that we would have spent every last bit of the 400 years. And remember that transatlantic slave trade is not the only place that Israelites are scattered. The Bible says to the four extremities, or to the extremities of the earth. It means that we were sent everywhere, not just in the West. And the Bible did say that those who were not taken with the sword, famine will take us at home. It means that those who are not transported elsewhere, you will face the pressure too. So there's so much more to this that I could say, but understand this. While that fight is going on, just put a pin in the 400 years and look what is happening, how trade is happening, how the world is trading, because remember that Africa was subjugated through trade. I don't know if y'all understand how that worked and how that happened. I would take a whole thing to discuss that. But Africa is oppressed through trade because you have to now buy the decided currency, which you have to spend maybe thousands of your money to buy that. For instance, in Jamaica, it's 150 to 1. So we have to take 150 US Jamaican dollars to buy 1 US. So if we're going to buy something from US, our dollar is divided by 150 to make 1 US. So you understand that our normal pay, we have to be saving 150 times as much to buy something that you would buy in US for your normal dollar. So imagine you are selling someone your oil and you have to devalue your money by thousands to sell them your own oil. Basically, you're giving your oil away and your resources away. So if that changes, I don't know how it's going to shift, but that is changing. That's not said too much because that's not what the media wanted to see. But it's not said too much, but it's happening. That's happening now. And while they fight their fight, and we pray for the innocent lives, we also see that Yahuwah is delivering his people. We also see that too. So we need to pay attention to that, because guess what's going to happen next? The persecution is going to happen. It's going to happen. Because left and right is going to become very clear. Very, very clear. But that's all we can say. We don't have much time tonight, so read the Bible. Read about the Passover. Numbers, I think, in Numbers, it gives you all the feast days beginning with the 7th-day Sabbath. Some people didn't know that that was also a feast day. But beginning with the weekly Sabbath, it gives you all the feast days and gives you a synopsis of how to observe them. Some of the stuff you can't do, some of the stuff we should not do, because Daniel tells us that in the midst of the week, Hamashiach would cause a sacrifice and oblations to cease. Therefore, we no longer bring the sacrificial animals. And it's clear what ceased. However, the token and the reason for the Passover, for us looking to the New Jerusalem, doesn't cease, it doesn't change. So the reason for observing Passover or Shavuot doesn't change. Why am I saying Shavuot? Pesach. Yeah, that reason does not change. And that it is simply this. There was a promised Redeemer that would die in our stead. And because of that, we would be redeemed. That's how we got into the 400 years. And know of a surety, Genesis 15:13, that thy seed shall be strangers in the land that is not theirs, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But after 400 years, in the 4th generation, they shall come out with what? Great wealth. 400 years. And we see everybody fighting everyone else. At the same time, our people are rising to prominence. Don't know if you're noticing it. So it was good tonight. We weren't discussing Passover. Clive, welcome. That's my eldest brother. Haven't seen in a minute. Maybe not here, Clive.
Hey, bro.
What's up? Welcome.
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure to once again join you.
Thanks.
I must say, it's been a month now that I've been in the corporate environment again.
Oh, wow. All right. That's good. Congrats.
I give thanks and I celebrate. I've recently joined the largest telecommunications network in the Caribbean, which is Digicel.
Oh, wow.
Man, blessings.
Yeah.
Gone back to corporate.
I must say, bro, that I give God thanks because it's been a year that I've been at home. And you know, when my contract was terminated with COK,
Mhm.
my wife said to me, you know, we can do this, whatever it is, we can do this, but stand on your values. And I said there must be a message in it. So a friend sent me a message and says, wait on the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
The revelation that I shared with you last year
Yeah.
was part of that process. And that book, Wait on the Lord, gave me the kind of reassurance and assurance to just relax. Do not worry about it because there's a provider who's taking care of you. So there's nothing to worry about. And I sat back and I actually decided that, all right, how do I use this time that I have on my hands? And I registered in an MBA program to do project management because I thought maybe I should just switch my career
Blessings.
to something different. And I must say that has been going very
Oh,
well.
for everyone, Clive is now, you see Claude Anthony, but it's Clive, we call him Clive, is always in the accounting. Yeah, and my other sister, my sister, Kathy, you don't know her, but they're finance people, so they're always in finance. So COK is actually a credit union, so they're always in corporate in finance.
So I kind of decided that I'm going to be changing lanes and, you know, did the degree in project management, but then this opportunity came, and it came like a blessing in disguise because it's exactly a year, and it was a very relaxed and comfortable year that, you know, I stayed home and I just did the work that I needed to do to prepare myself for a time such as this. You know, interestingly, I am in a bit of finance, but the company is project oriented.
Okay.
And so my invitation to join the company is basically preparing, placing me in one of the largest projects that the company is planning to undertake that will change their whole digital operation and set us apart from any competition. So I know it's not just chance, it was preparing me for a time such as this. And so I embrace it with both hands.
Can you imagine that you went and did a project management Masters of Business?
And then turn around and
Can you
got placed
imagine
in,
that? And
and
Yahoo
got
had
placed
to
in.
move you from there to get you here.
So I just accept that it was his timing and it was decision. And so when he sent a message to say wait on the Lord, to this day I listen to it's Maverick Music Group, Elevation Worship. That's how the song says, wait on you. I'm gonna wait. And I'm waiting, and he has delivered. And today I can only look forward, I can only look down the road and see the abundance that I'm being prepped for. And it can only be God. It can only be the Creator.
You know what I would say to you? Beyond everything that's going to happen with that company, and that company is a huge company, we know that. Yahuwah is preparing you to know that when he's moving you from a comfort zone, it's because something is coming bigger.
I accept that, bro.
And he allowed you to prepare for a year. He said, relax here. I'm gonna take you out this stress. I'm gonna allow you to be with your family, to just enjoy and wake up and be and learn about me. And then I'm going to, now here you go. Like, look, here you go. Man.
Yes. So, wow.
Blessings.
You know what? It gives me such inspiration. It gives me, you came on the program like at the last 5 minutes, but it gives me such inspiration. Today, I was all week, and I must apologize to those again, because Sabrina and others were here. Last week, we were at Abney because I'm putting together a whole multimedia thing for the church there. And I was there, we were trying to network some computer and stuff, and then the internet went down, and I was there till 10 in the night. And so that's why I wasn't on. So I'm apologizing for not being on last week. And when we came home, what I did a remote desktop and set it up on all the machines. And I came home and started working on the machines because it wasn't done. And I stopped working like 3 o'clock the next morning. And of course, I had to be out back there, which is an hour away, by 8:30. So, you know, I didn't sleep. So that's why I wasn't here last week. But in all of that, this week, I'm here trying to figure out, I must have gone through Revelation 30 times and Daniel 30 or 20 times this week. Trust me. Elder Mackenzie will tell you. I play the Bible straight. When we're working, the Bible, my phone is plugged in and the Bible is on. That's how we work. And I was just impressed. And today, nothing I'm thinking of would just come. And I'm praying and I'm saying, Yahuwah, tell me what you want to say. And even what I was thinking, even when I came on the program and started to say we're going to do Pesach, Passover. This worshiping the beast part and what it is, I was just making reference to say what my week was.
Right.
And we went right into the program. Clive, you weren't here. This week I was posting on Facebook about people worshiping the beast and not know it. And while I was posting, in the middle of the post, while I'm typing, the page disappeared. Not Facebook disappeared, my post disappeared.
Wow.
I started again and it did it again. So I went and typed it in Microsoft Word, copied it and pasted it in Facebook. When I started relaying that situation, that's how we got to discuss the whole Mark of the Beast thing. Well, not Mark of the Beast, worshiping the beast. When I started relaying the situation here on this program,
it crashed.
Zoom disappeared.
Mhm.
When I started going through the post, Zoom disappeared. And I said, you know what? If you're fighting me, I'm going forward. It's confirmation to me that I need to go forward. And so when you come now and tell me all that, and for some reason today I just felt this happy feeling, even though I had so much pressure on me, but I had still have this concern for where the world is and how I see people responding to the events of the world, realizing that we're all being led down this hole that we are not seeing. And that was heavy on my heart all week. So when I was praying, I was just praying before the program. And like 20 minutes before the program, I started getting ready for the program, actually. Started turning on lights and stuff so that I think Sabrina was on. I came on like 7:02 and there was only 2 or 3 of us. Rachel was on, Sabrina was on, but it just started to happen. I didn't plan to discuss this, but it just happened. And it just tells me that sometimes when Yah is saying, I'm not inspiring on your prepared program, it means that he has his prepared program to do. And that's what he did tonight.
Amen. And I believe that. I believe that.
Amen. Amen. And even with that, and just give a quick testimony. I know it's a little late because Clive's testimony is, and I realize this Pesach. Well, my mediation is on the 1st, and my expectation is to be done with the evil I've been dealing with for 7 months. And it was interesting that you mentioned that it's remembering a time of oppression and coming out. And my expectation is come the 1st on the mediation is to be coming out, and it will be the beginning of the end of my the adversary having me confound and going through it and coming out. And that is my expectation. And it's amazing that it falls roughly at the 7-month period and going into the Pesach.
Yeah.
So I am accepting it. And like I said, Clive, your testimony, how you being delivered, and that's what I'm expecting, a deliverance at this point, because I have reached you just see the adversary is just gnawing and gnashing, and even when we read that consequences will be upon their head, their actions will be upon their head. And so just seeing that, and I'm just sitting there and just reading it, and it's like, okay, Father, I almost didn't come on tonight, to be honest. I
didn't
was late.
expect you.
Yeah, right. I was late. And but something said, you, because I was just gonna sit, and he's like, no, get on. And so yeah, man, I'm coming in with expectation.
And I'm glad you came.
Yeah, yes.
I'm really glad you came. I'm glad you came, Clyde. You came with a blessing at the last minute.
Right.
11th hour.
Yes, and that is just hearing your testimony, Clive, is just okay.
All right. I remember last year when you were telling us, and you and I were on the phone for a while, and we were talking through it and stuff. And you were we were talking about Yahweh, how he was leading you and revealing himself to you. Mm-hmm. And even then, we didn't see this.
But I'm all too happy to share, bro. I'm all too happy to share. And even now, where I'm at, I find an opportunity, because in just a month, somebody actually said to me today, I can't believe you're here only a month, because I get the impression that you've been here for a while. Mm. And
you've been in management all that time. You just roll. Yahweh prepared you.
And I said, my objective is to adapt. And can I tell you, bro? Mm-hmm. There was a young lady who is in my department, and for some reason she said she came over to me, and just overhearing me over this week. She said she see me as a father figure, and she came and she started sharing about her personal life and abuse that she went through, and assisting her with her. She was working on a performance appraisal. Mm-hmm. Young lady just started crying, just sharing her experience of abuse, and started crying in my presence. And I'm saying, this young lady, she doesn't even know me. She just meeting me just by visiting my department and working alongside another manager where I was. And they all left and we were there. And I haven't even asked her why she felt so comfortable to share with me, but then she opened up and she shared with me. And I mean, I was able to just give her some advice and counseling as a parent myself, and as a experienced corporate professional. Mm-hmm. Experiencing challenges with her department and experiencing challenges in her personal life. And she actually said to me, she had an abusive father, which she's even trying to maintain a relationship with now. Mm-hmm. Over the experience, and want to have a relationship with him, and he's resisting, and she's looking for a mentor. And I'm just getting home because I spent the evening just walking with her. Mm-hmm. I actually took her to your program tonight, and I shared with her the link. So the first thing I did a while ago was to look if she was on. I didn't see her, but I just thought it was your program is so great a program that I want to share with everybody that I come into contact with, because people need to hear what we're talking about here. We started a conversation earlier this week, and I know we're out of time, but I'm pushing a little bit.
It's okay. Okay, by the way, persons who are listening, feel free if you have to leave, because sometimes you go late. Believe me, sometimes. One time we went to after 10, right, Stanley? Yeah, so when the spirit moves, we don't quench the spirit.
Yeah, we've gone close to 11 once. So
yeah.
Yeah, so it came out of a conversation about the war, and I said to her, because everybody is saying, we sympathize with Ukraine, and it's an evil thing that Putin is doing, and I do agree. But I said to her, has anybody ever stopped to look at it from Putin's perspective? Mm-hmm. Because crazy as he might be, he must have a perspective that is worth listening to, because everybody has their own perspective as to why all of this is happening. And I said, before Russia, it used to be the USSR, and one of the last bastion of communism, and that disintegrated a couple of years. Now, the East, and this is what I'm familiar with. the East has been having a problem, because I see this as a war between the East and the West.
Okay.
And so while the East,
Okay, go ahead.
So while the East have a problem with America and their expansions and the thing that they have been doing, Russia is now beginning to have a similar problem because of Ukraine joining with the West makes them a larger superpower.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's a war about land and control.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said it is more than just Putin don't want Ukraine to join NATO. And we need and so right away she said, I didn't even know about USSR. That's how young she is. She didn't even know about the Soviet. I said probably you need to go into Google now and start researching. Well, she's hoping that we can have more conversation because she wants to do some paper on in history, and she thinks just talking with me would probably assist in guiding her as to where she needs to go and do her research. And so it was just an opportunity this week to really share with another youth and to, just to encourage another troubled young soul.
Yahweh puts us in places to minister.
Yes, definitely.
And guess what? What he does, he blesses you first.
Yes.
Like we would do this now. We'd say, you know what? Do this for me first, and then I'll do that. Yahweh says, I'm going to do this first. Then I'll give you the duty. So I'm going to pay you first. I'm paying you at the beginning of the week.
And that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. So he blesses you first, then he sends the work, his work to you. And then you have to know that I'm now an instrument of Yah. So let me hold up my side of it. So you bless others because he's blessed you.
Exactly.
And so he does that every single time. He called us out of Egypt, then he called us to Mount Sinai. He didn't call us to Mount Sinai and say, you know what?
If you come, I'll bless you.
Agree with this. And if you agree with this, I'm come deliver you. He delivered us first. In fact, when you're leaving Egypt, you need nothing more than just walk into the house. That's all you needed to do. One requirement. You're in the house where the blood is stained. He didn't ask whether you're a thief, a prostitute, nothing. Anyone who wanted to walk out just needed to just walk in the house and walk out with them. That's all it took. So he did it long before any requirement. No requirement at all. He did it first.
That's not asking much.
That's not asking much. He paid you before you actually came on the work. And that's why he said that in Revelation, he said that I am the Aleph and the Tav. I know Revelation translated as Alpha and Omega. He said, I am the Alpha, Aleph and the Tav. I'm the power and the strength of the covenant. So he is the covenant. He's the strength of the covenant. So all you need to do is accept it. That's all he's saying. All you need to do, like in Ezekiel that we went through tonight, sigh and cry for what? Righteousness. And he's going to send that man with the inkhorn, Ezekiel 9, to come through and mark or to put a seal, as we see in Revelation, on those who made the initiative just to be fed up with corruption. That's all, that's all they did. They were fed up with corruption. So they were saying that there was nothing they could physically do because those who were corrupting the place were the high officers, the priests. They were corrupting the place. All these little people could have done was sigh and cry because there was nothing else. They couldn't protest. They couldn't do anything. They were overpowered. But when Yahuwah came, he said that 6 men came from the east. By the way, did he say the east or the upper gate? I don't remember. And one of them had an inkhorn, and 5 of them was sent through to destroy, but one was sent through to mark those who were sighing and crying. It's it's what it is. It's the worship of the beast has nothing. Victoria commented on that post on Facebook. And I didn't tell you, Victoria, about that post. I tried to post that 2 times. The third time I got through. The worship of the beast, as we see in Revelation, is not about songs, hymns, prayer, or kumbaya. Clearly, they say, who is able to make war with the beast? It's about you aligning with a system that sheds innocent blood. Worship simply means to bow down. Shahar, the Hebrew word. So anything you bow down in deference to, if the power you bow down in deference to is killing innocent people, it means you're worshiping a power that's killing innocent people. And you're worshiping the beast, obviously. So people are waiting to see a big shrine set up.
Yeah.
When they would have been worshiping the beast by simply supporting a system that is killing innocent people. And Ezekiel brought that out. Thank you, Sabrina, for bringing that out, mentioning those texts. Ezekiel brought that out clear. There were blood in the streets of Jerusalem when the man with the inkhorn came. Not only that, they were turning their faces to the east and worshiping the sun while standing in the temple. They were actually oppressing, and there was blood in the streets because they were oppressing the innocent and they were killing the people. Just as in Revelation, those who joined the beast and says, who is able to make war with him, did so because of the sheer power of the beast. Because the beast had won the battles. The beast was wounded and came back to life. So they say, you know what? I'm joining the winning team. In spite of the fact that he's killing innocent people. And at that point, that decision was made to be either under the mark of the authority of the beast or the authority of Yah. I feel we're going to have to discuss the mark of the beast in coming weeks again. But worshiping
Eyes, bro. You're opening eyes.
Yeah. Worship of the beast have nothing to do with kumbaya and fasting and all that. The Hebrew word shahar simply means to bow down. And once you bow down in deference, what you give over your will to is what makes a difference. So I hope if y'all missed it, you can go back and watch it on YouTube. It's Exploring Torah at gmail.com. It's Exploring Torah. YouTube channel is Exploring Torah. Thank you all for being here. Some of you came a little late, but it was an inspiring night, and Clive came and just inspired us. Thank you for that inspiration and that testimony. Rachel and Sabrina was here from the beginning, and we were just chatting and had planned to go into Peshach, but Yahuwah had other plans. Shalom, family, shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. Blessed family, shalom.